Degasification in liquid metal. Gases are much more soluble in liquid metal than in solid metal. Now, as in the liquid metal is poured into the mold and solidifies, it tends to absorb gases from various sources. Now, these gases dissolve in the molten metal as hydrogen, carbon, or oxygen, etc., and not as molecules of hydrogen, carbon dioxide. On solidification, the elements may recombine to form molecular gases, and in doing so form gas holes like blowholes, pinholes, etc. Since it is not possible to completely prevent the absorption of gases in the melt, it is required to remove the dissolved gases, and the process adopted is known as degasification. Vacuum melting is used nowadays for preventing the dissolution of gases in the metals. Sources of gases in liquid metals and its prevention. First one is the furnace atmosphere. The atmosphere inside the furnace may contain water vapor, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, or silicon dioxide as products of combustion of fuel. Now, in addition to the normal atmospheric gases such as nitrogen and oxygen, the amount of gas absorption depends on the conditions and the type of melting furnace. Maintaining the clean and dry atmosphere inside the furnace and furnace walls helps in reducing gas absorption. Second is the furnace charge. Wet or oily materials or contaminated scrap charged into the furnace contributes to the gas absorption. Alloying additions containing hydrogen resulting from the reducing conditions employed in smelting, fluxes, and slag making additions are other sources. Use of dry and clean charge helps in reducing these gas absorption. Ladles, incompletely dried linings and surface of spouts, tun dishes, and ladles, when they are brought in contact with the molten metal, may help gas absorption through dissociation of steam at the contact surfaces. Now, the use of clean, dry, and preheated tools can help in reducing the gas absorptions. Furnace to ladle and ladle to mold. When the molten metal may absorb gases while it is transferred through air from ladle to mold, or during tapping from furnace to ladle, the gas absorption can be minimized by providing a protective atmosphere to the molten metal by means of slag or inert gas or exothermic compounds, etc. Further, pouring metal at temperatures as low as practically possible and maintaining metal handling conditions like skimming, stirring, and reladling helps in reducing gas absorption. Last one, in the mold. The molten metal may absorb gases inside the mold in case if the mold materials contain excess moisture or volatile hydrocarbons. Molding materials free of volatile matters and proper venting system in the mold helps in reducing the gas absorption. Degasification methods. Following are the different methods of degassing: flushing and vacuum degassing. Under vacuum degassing, we have static bath treatment, induction degassing, stream droplet degassing, and fractional degassing. Flushing. Flushing or gas scavenging with an inert gas is one of the most effective methods of extracting the dissolved gases from the molten metal. Inert gases such as chlorine, nitrogen, helium, or argon are used in practice for degassing non-ferrous metals while carbon monoxide is used for ferrous metals and nickel based alloys. In this method, the inert gas is simply piped from the storage tank through the graphite tubes directly into the liquid molten metal. The piping of the inert gas creates bubbles which move upwards, and any dissolved gas in the liquid metal migrates readily to the bubbles, where it collects and is flushed from the melt and to the atmosphere. The rate of degassing depends on the rate at which the gas diffuses into the gas bubbles. Now, for ferrous metals and nickel based alloys, nitrogen cannot be used as inert gas because they form nitrides which can affect the grain size of the metal. Vacuum degassing. Well, as the name suggests, vacuum degassing is a technique of removing the dissolved gases from the liquid melt by lowering the pressure inside the vessel that contains the liquid melt in the presence of the vacuum. It is particularly used in steel foundries, where degassing hydrogen and oxygen from the liquid steel. Now, steels refined in vacuum are characterized by homogeneous structure, low content of non-metallic inclusions, and low gas porosity. Vacuum degassing is typically performed in a specially designed chamber or vessel known as vacuum degasser. There are a number of variants followed in the vacuum degassing process. However, working on the same principle by exposing the molten metal to a low pressure environment. The reduced pressure inside the vessel or chamber causes the dissolved gases to become less soluble and separate from the liquid melt. When vacuum degassing process is complete, the gas is removed from the vessel and the pressure is returned to normal. Now, it must be noted that the effectiveness of any vacuum degassing operation depends upon the surface area of the liquid melt, and it is exposed to low pressure. Hydrogen removal is a diffusion and a partial pressure phenomena, while oxygen removal is a function of chemical reaction of oxygen with carbon and the partial pressure of carbon monoxide. Now, the different variants of vacuum degassing with respect to hydrogen gas removal are discussed. Static bath degassing. Static bath technique is the simplest form of degassing, wherein the ladle tapped with the molten metal is placed within a chamber, sealed and evacuated as shown in the figure. The process, although is time consuming and requires additional equipment, may be simplified by sealing the tapped ladle itself with a cover. The space above the molten metal in the ladle forms the vacuum chamber. The reduced pressure inside the chamber causes the dissolved gas to become less soluble and it separates from the liquid melt. Once the degassing process is completed, the pouring of metal is carried out. This system gives the advantage of a small pump down volume, reducing the vacuum pump capacity requirement. However, since the system does not utilize any circulation of melt other than that provided by the natural convection, degassing proceeds at a slower rate. Induction degassing. It's a technique that overcomes the disadvantage of static bath technique. Here in the system, which is shown in the figure, consists of a crucible surrounded by induction heating coils. The entire assembly is located within a chamber that can be sealed and rapidly evacuated. The molten metal is transferred from the melt conducting unit into the crucible, wherein the current flowing through the coils create a magnetic field that induces eddy currents and circular electric currents, producing a stirring action within the molten metal. The bath agitation, which takes place at normal frequency, is just sufficient for hydrogen gas removal from the melt to take place. The effect of removing the dissolved gas is enhanced to a greater extent in the presence of a vacuum atmosphere. Vacuum induction process is more efficient, except the cost of the furnace being a major drawback. However, foundries operating with induction furnaces have an advantage, since all the operations like melting metal under vacuum, refining, degassing, heating, alloying, etc. are done in a single unit. The process is relatively flexible, featuring the independent control of time, temperature, pressure, and mass transport through melt stirring. Stream droplet degassing. In stream degassing technique, the molten metal from the ladle is poured down into another preheated ladle placed in an evacuated chamber as shown in the figure. Now, bottom pouring of the molten metal is desirable as it creates a stream of flow into the vacuum chamber. The sudden exposure of the liquid stream in the vacuum chamber leads to the very rapid degassing due to the increased surface area created by breakup of stream into droplets. The process helps the hydrogen gas dissolved in the steel to be evacuated by the vacuum pump. A major amount of degassing occurs during the fall of the liquid stream, and such the height of the pouring stream forms an important design parameter in the process. The major amount of degassing occurs during the fall of liquid stream, and as such the height of the pouring stream forms an important design parameter in the process. Fractional degassing. Now, in fractional degassing technique, the molten metal trapped in the ladle is progressively degassed by treatment of fractions of the metal in a separate vacuum vessel as shown in the figure. Now, the system makes use of two tubes connected at the bottom of the vacuum chamber, with one of the tubes connected to a pipe supplying argon gas through its refractory lining. Both the tubes are immersed into the ladle containing the molten metal. Now, with such an arrangement, the liquid metal flows up into the vacuum chamber under the influence of inert gas bubbles bled into the base of the tube. The level of the molten metal in the vacuum chamber is determined by the atmospheric pressure. Through the second tube in the vacuum chamber, the molten metal flows back into the ladle, producing a continuous circulation of the melt and resulting with the removal of the gases. Fettling or cleaning of castings. Fettling and cleaning is carried out following the shakeout, that is, a removal of the casting from the sand mold, and knockout, that is, removal of the sand core from the casting operation. Now, fettling includes the following steps: removal of sand, other impurities, removal of excess material, and finishing of the castings. Now, removal of sand and other impurities. Here, the rough casting removed from the mold consists of adhering molding sand, core sand, oxides, and scale, which has to be cleaned. This is achieved manually, mechanically, or by chemical means. Wire brush, files, and other tools are used in the manual operation, while air blasting, hydroblasting, or tumblings, etc. are the few equipments used in the mechanical operations. Now, the chemical cleaning methods utilize baths of molten caustic soda containing additional reagents to react with and break the surface oxide layer. Now, this will loosen the adhering sand also. Removal of excess metal. Here it includes removing the excess metal such as fins, blisters, stumps of gates and risers, and other unwanted projection from the castings. This is achieved by chipping, sawing, flame cutting, grinding and other operations. Last one, the finishing of the castings. Finishing is carried out to smoothen parts of the casting where gates and risers were attached, and also improve the surface finish and appearance of the casting. Different finishing operations such as grinding, polishing, buffing, etc. are used for this purpose. Casting defects. It is an unwanted irregularities that appear in the casting during metal casting process. There are various reasons or sources which is responsible for the defects in the cast metal. Since the process involves a number of variables and a loss of control in any of these variables can cause these defects under certain circumstances. Some of the common casting defects and the features and remedies to prevent such defects will be discussed. Now, the casting defect can be categorized into 5 types. First is the gas porosity, under which we have blowholes, open holes and pinholes. Second is the shrinkage defects. Shrinkage cavity comes under this. Third one is the mold material defects. Under this you have cut and washes, swell, drops, metal penetration, rat tail. Fourth is the pouring metal defects, under which we have cold shut, misran, slag inclusion. Fifth one is the metallurgical defects such as hot tears, hot spot. Now we shall discuss on few of the casting defects. First one is the shrinkage defect. Shrinkage is a void on the surface of the castings resulting from contracting or shrinkage of the metal during solidification. Although a riser is used to overcome the shrinkage effect, in some cases it fails to feed the molten metal efficiently to the casting as it solidifies. So the causes for this is uneven or uncontrolled solidification of the molten metal. Second, it could be the pouring temperature which will be, or if it is too high. Remedies: using large spruce and riser to promote directional solidification. Or second, locate the riser and the gating system in an appropriate positions. And third, gates to be cut as wide as possible. Porosity defect, which has blowhole and pinhole in it. The molten metal absorb gases from the various sources such as fluxes, moisture in the sand, binders, additives and normal atmospheric gases like oxygen and nitrogen. If these gases are not allowed to escape, they get entrapped in the mold cavity, forming small bubble or balloon shaped voids or cavities, leading to the porosity defect in the castings. There are 2 types of gas related defect occur in the casting, and they are blowhole and pinhole defect. Blowhole occur below the surface of the casting, and these may not be visible or will not be visible from outside surface. Whereas on the other hand, pinholes are small gas cavities, many in number, or slightly below the surface of the casting. Now, causes for blowhole defect are excessive moisture in the sand, low permeability of the sand, sand grains if it is too fine, or if the sand is rammed too hard, or if there is insufficient venting that is provided in the mold. And the causes for pinholes is if high moisture content is present in the sand, or if absorption of hydrogen or carbon monoxide gas by the molten metal, or if pouring of steel from the wet ladles are not sufficiently gasified, or avoid use of excess carbonaceous or other organic material in the sand, because these materials react with the molten metal, producing large amount of gases. Next, misrun. Misrun occur when the mold cavity is not completely filled with the molten metal. Well, in other words, it is a defect wherein a casting solidifies before the molten metal completely fills the cavity. Now, causes for this is a low fluidity of the molten metal, a low temperature of the molten metal which decreases its fluidity, or if there are too thin sections and improper gating system. The remedies for this is the fluidity of the metal should be maintained suitably, pouring rate and time should be controlled, and thin sections should be suitably designed. Metal penetration. When fluidity of the liquid metal is high, it may penetrate into the sand mold or core. A fused aggregate of metal and sand appears on the surface of the casting, which leads to this particular defect. So the causes is due to the low strength, large grain size, high permeability, and soft ramming of the sand. Because of this, the molten metal penetrates in the molding sand, and we tend to get a rough or a uneven casting. Now, how to prevent this? Sand should be properly rammed. Molding sand or the core sand should not be too coarse to promote this metal penetration. And control of proper metal temperature or fluidity of the molten metal should be maintained. Mold shift. It is a step produced in cast product along the parting line due to the sidewise relative displacement of the cope or drag box. The causes are improper alignment of upper and lower part during the mold preparation, or misalignment of the flask, and this could be prevented by proper alignment of the cope and drag box, or proper handling of the assembled cope and drag box during the operation. Cold shut. Here the two portions of the metal flow together, but lack of fusion due to the premature freezing results in a defect called as cold shut. The causes here are poor gating system, low melting temperature, and also lack of fluidity. And the remedies for this is place gates and risers at proper location, and metal fluidity should be high. Hot tear is an internal or external ragged discontinuity formed in the casting due to the pulling action of the metal just after it has solidified. The cause generally is an improper mold design, and this can be prevented by providing an adequate fillet at the sharp corners while designing the component, proper metallurgical and pouring temperature to be maintained, and place the gates and risers at a suitable location. Apart from those defects, we have few more defects. Hotspot, or it's also called as hard spot, which occur when an area on the casting cools more rapidly than the surrounding material. Hot spots are areas on the casting which is harder than the surrounding area. The cause could be rapid cooling. Because of the rapid cooling, an area of the casting surrounding material causes this defect. So this defect can be prevented by using proper cooling practice and also by changing the composition, the chemical composition of the metal. Next one is the sand holes. Now this is created on the external surface or inside of the casting. It occurs when loose sand washes into the mold cavity and fuses into the interior of the casting or rapid pouring of the molten metal. The causes for this is the loose ramming of the sand or rapid pouring of the molten metal into the mold could wash away the sand from the mold and a hole could be created, and improper cleaning of the mold cavity, and this can be prevented by proper ramming of the sand and mold metal poured carefully into the mold, and proper cleaning of the mold cavity could eliminate such problems. Dirt is particles of dust and sand in the casting surface which result in this defect, mostly because of the due to the improper handling of the mold and the presence of slag particles in the molten material. Remedies, or it can be prevented by proper handling of the mold, and sufficient fluxing should be done to remove the slag impurities from the molten metal. Warpage is an accidental or unwanted deformation in the casting that happens during or after solidification. Due to this defect, the dimension of the final product changes. This is due to the different rates of solidification at different sections. This causes stress in the adjoining walls and thus results in the warpage. And also due to the large and flat sections or intersecting sections such as the ribs are more prone to these particular type of casting defects. This can be prevented by proper casting designs and also by producing large areas with wavy or corrugated construction. Fins, it's a thin projection of metal not considered as a part of a casting actually. It usually occurs as the part of the mold or a core section. This is generally because of incorrect assembling of mold and cores, or insufficient weight of the mold, or improper clamping of the flask. And this can be prevented by correct assembly of the mold and cores, and there should be sufficient weight on top part of the mold so that the two parts they fit properly or tightly.